Photography begins with the feet. For every shot, your point of view is determined by where you and the tripod are standing, so you must pick a location based on how you want the shot to be composed. Composition is the backbone of visual communication and is founded on the three principles of layering, cropping, and framing. In other words, to ask what will be displayed, how much of it will be shown, and how one element relates to another. Photographers must stay aware of these three principles at all times.
Most of us tend to see images on the screen as being comprised of one flat surface. But in composing the shot, we need to imagine its various elements as being on separate layers, each capable of individual manipulation. In virtually every picture, there are at least two layers. Here's Kristen in a stand-up shot. While her framing appears appropriate, there's another important element we need to stay aware of.
The background. In most cases, the two basic layers of a shot are the subject and the background. But what is it that turns these two layered elements into a well-composed shot? Well, camera placement is a start. By placing the camera a few feet to the left, we can transform this irrelevant background into a valuable element.
Camera placement will come naturally from paying attention to the images on each layer in the shot and by questioning their relevance. Now that an appropriate background image has been selected, we can move on to the second principle. The cropping question is, how much of each element will we show?
Never cut the human figure at any bodily joints. Instead, crop between the knees and waist, wrists and elbows, or the elbows and shoulders. When cropping objects, avoid showing excess space around them or showing only partial images. This also applies to background images.
The final question is about the relationship between the various elements. We've cropped the background and we've cropped the reporter. So now, how do we fit all these onto the screen? Our guideline is the rule of thirds. We begin by imagining the screen as being divided into 1/3 segments, both vertically and horizontally. Now, as we frame our shot, we keep a golden ratio in mind, 2/3 to 1/3. The primary element will take up about 2/3 of the screen, while the secondary element is assigned to the remaining third.
You can see all three principles at work in each of these examples.
Essentially, the composition process begins by choosing the location of the camera. Here, you can see the effect of camera placement on the final shot. In each example, the subject does take up 2/3 of the frame, but the background layer is completely altered by the camera's point of view. So, camera placement directly affects the background layer. Now, going one step further, how about the distance between the camera and the subject? Let's take a look.
As the camera is moved closer in, a wider shot is needed to ensure the subject only takes up 2/3 of the screen. So now we see more of the background. Conversely, moving the camera further away from the subject shows us a smaller portion of the background. This is a great tool for manipulating the background layer. For large background images, such as a building, place the subject closer to the camera and farther away from the background. For small background images, move the camera away from the subject and zoom in.
So we've covered the left and the right and back and forth placement of the tripod. The one thing left, the height. Most amateur photographers will set up the tripod so that the viewfinder is eye level to themselves. The correct procedure is to keep the camera lens eye level with the subject. Whatever the tripod height, be sure to check that it's always evenly balanced. To avoid off-balance images, check the level gauge on the tripod's head. Ideally, the bubble must be at the center of the circle. There, now the shot is balanced.
One final consideration is lighting. It goes without saying that the subject matter in front of the camera needs to be well lit. But beyond that, a common mistake is to be unaware of the vast discrepancies between each layer's lighting. A Portalight kit like this can provide additional lighting for your subject. but the batteries tend not to last too long, and it only works for distances of about 7 to 10 feet. The best way to prevent lighting problems is to avoid shooting an interview in front of a window or a bright light source, and stay away from the shadows. But again, camera placement is the key.
So, all these things, I mean, it sounds like a lot of things, and it is, but, the checklists start whizzing through your mind when you walk through the door. Okay, we're going to interview Joe Blow in his office, and you start looking around for the angle, you look at the lights, you listen to the sound.
Well, let's say the guy had a certain area in mind, and I can tell that area is noisy. I cannot, work in there without picking up all this noise that's coming from the kitchen, let's say, or from a shop next door or something. Then I'll make my suggestion. Well, you might want to think about moving indoor, with more controlled audio. I'll put up a couple of lights for you and stuff. So that's basically scouting the location.
Artistically, you hope to find a background that expresses something about the person. If you're going to, let's just say you're interviewing somebody that's in the music business, maybe you can get something that says music in the background. That would be nice. That would, so I mean, you look for things that would be appropriate for the background. A lot of times it's you're in a very neutral environment. If you're in someone's office or this or that, so then you're looking for backgrounds that are just going to balance and look nice. Depth is good. White walls are bad. Bright windows are oftentimes bad because you don't have the lights to balance up to a bright outdoors, and it's just going to be glaring. A bright window is going to be glaring, and so you're looking for a background that's going to be that you can make aesthetically pleasing.
I remember we did a interview with Oliver Stone, and we went to his office, and his assistant told us where we're going to be. Now, the room was a room with huge, big windows overlooking the Santa Monica beach. And the one side had his posters and American flag right next to the window. And based on what we were going to talk about, this was talking about the New Year for the Chinese community, that he was going to send a message to the Chinese community for the New Year. And of course he's an American, and we're in America, and it's a Chinese community that's going to be seeing this. So you got to be sensitive to that. Now, here I am in this room with huge windows, with his posters, which there were a couple of violent movies, I don't remember which ones, and there's an American flag. So yeah, I'll take my choice of the American flag as a background. So I'll position him somewhere where there's a flag in the background, preferably not showing the the posters, and staying away from the hard light that's coming through the window.
Most of the time you're in little cramped white offices, and you just do the best you can. I mean, if you can find an angle that looks out their doorway so that there's depth, as opposed to just smack into the white wall, that can help. The kiss of death is to put somebody on their couch that's against their white wall, because there's no depth. They're right up against any light you put on them is going to immediately hit the wall right behind them. And when the viewer is looking at this interview, whether it's the station chief to see whether he wants to keep hiring you, or people that are flipping the channels, it's just not going to look very good, because it's just this big white wall and this person here, sitting here talking. Who cares? Change your channel.
So we both came in at 8 o'clock. It's now 9:30. Jaime is a reporter, Joel's a photographer. You're driving all the way down to Orange County to do a story on Megan's Law. And my assumption is, like we should always assume, we're going to be in the 12 o'clock show, noon show.
Which is 2.5 hours away.
And in that 2.5 hours, we have to mold together a decent piece for a news broadcast. We're in bumper-to-bumper traffic. You tell me, are we going to make it? Because we do have so many shows, we may put together something very short for the noon just to get on TV. Pick up a few things for that particular broadcast, and then after we're done with that, try to gather some more elements for the following news broadcasts later in the afternoon.
I'm just putting my thoughts together right now. As you can see, the time is 11:15, and we've been trying to scramble to figure out what we will do for our noon broadcast. Problem was finding a place to park our truck. It should be out of the way here. If we park here, it's not going to be a problem.
It's going to be a really crazy area we got.
We obviously need it relatively close to where we're going live, so that's what we'll do now. So if you don't mind, I certainly don't mind, but I'm definitely going to be going across this road and then through those doors.
Finding out if we could in fact go live.
So I'm not even going to be a photographer right now. I'm going to be our truck engineer. Make sure I can go live from this particular area, string cable in, and make it all happen for the noon. Then after that, we'll probably do some taping. It's hard to imagine we ever actually get on TV.
Once we worked out those areas, we had to find out if anybody would even be here to help us out. Hi Darlene, this is Jaime Garza with KCAL 9 News. It is 10 minutes before 11. I'm at the Orange County Fair right now, and we're scheduled to go live at noon today. But I realize that the fair doesn't open until noon, and I'm wondering if there's any way you could get down here and turn on one of those computers for us and maybe go live with us at 12 o'clock on the money. Which I just talked to somebody on the phone. They'll be here in 20 minutes, which is about 20 minutes before air. We will try to piece this story together. Because we don't have time to shoot any video, this will be a live for live sakes. In other words, we will do no video whatsoever. It will be completely live, and we will use the tools we have here, the monitors, our interview guests, to try to tell a story and try to help folks. So, as you can tell, time is critical.
Now, I'm pretty sure they don't have duct tape 101 at USC, but clearly there's a method to our madness. This, of course, is important because if somebody trips and falls, we're out of a job. The camera position today will be me. I'll have the camera on my shoulder, and we'll probably just walk and talk to the people running this operation, along with, of course, Jaime. I don't have time to what we would call three-point light this situation. This is TV news. The most convenient, the better. If you have time, you bet. 3 lamps, 4 lamps, 5 lamps, depending on the situation. I'm just going to use the natural lighting of the fluorescence that I really don't like, but I'll try to overpower it with my tungsten light. Audio isn't great here either. This type of lighting, as you can hear that sound, that's going to kill me, but what can I do? Nothing. I just got to deal with it.